Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.
Wow. So you know how I'm kind of like anti-government, anti-higher education, all that kind of stuff?
No, I hadn't noticed.
So we were just talking off camera about, you're like, yeah, you need an architect. I'm working on a building project right now. And you're like, yeah, you're not going to be able to get a permit without an architect. And I'm like, that sounds like a scam. And you're like, nah, it's kind of a good reason. So I was just thinking about, like, how many professions do you think actually require the degree? Like, doctor would probably be the big one, right? Don't want someone operating on you without proper training. Trying to think of if there's any other.
There's a good number of trades that I wouldn't want someone without training to attempt, like electrical, for example, or plumbing.
What about the people that volunteer for Habitat for Humanity building houses? They're obviously unqualified.
But they're being overseen by professionals. They still have to get the same stamp and approval process.
So I used to volunteer for Habitat for Humanity, and I used to buy those little joke sugar nails from like a party store, and I'd use them, and then like without fail, 3-4 months later, big rainstorm, boom, house collapse, 3-4 dead. Happened more than once.
How much did you spend on sugar nails? I bet you they cost significantly more than proper nails.
Anyway, welcome to Alcohol Beyond This Point, the podcast where we debate business topics, both sober and drunk, to see if we come to the same conclusion. Tyler is the guy that always doesn't believe in my dreams, and my name is Willows, the prophet prophets are never loved in their homeland. And I really feel that, like, that's the situation that's happening with me. I think I am like a messiah, and just nobody. You're not going to listen to me until it's too late, I think.
I think anybody that calls themselves a messiah just needs a brickin'.
No, you're trying to persecute me, which is like exactly proving my point.
Yes, I am.
You're going to make me a martyr, and that's part of my plan, I think. You just wait till I'm 27, though?
I'll take that risk.
Word. Anyway, this is episode 86. Do you think CPAs, accountants, do you think that's legit for a profession?
I don't think we should have a financial system that relies on something as subjective as math.
Yeah, I remember our friend Jean-Luc, who's been on this podcast. He's a communist, and but he's a communist with an accounting degree, and he always has a existential crisis because.
I'm gonna say, why do you think he's a communist?
Well, because everything he's good at is something that doesn't matter at all in a post scarcity society. Right? Like everything he went to school for, everything he's taught, everything that he's skilled at is just a made up from capitalism. Like accounting is just made up because of capitalism, right?
And sales.
You gotta figure out how much money you owe us to stay out of jail is not something that happens after the revolution, right?
Post scarcity specifically. That's the important part.
Well, I mean, the communist revolution will happen, and then we won't be post-scarcity, and then all the communists that are bad at business will try to run businesses and crash everything, and then they'll be like, what do you mean? They'll be like, they seize the means of production of, like, the bakery, and then they go in the morning, there's no flour. They're like, well, what do you mean? Why isn't the flour here?
Well, the commodities exchange crashed.
Yeah, well, and it's like you killed all the fucking the farmers, right? Like, it's like, I'm like, well, I thought it was just, and then they go to eat and there's no food, and they're like, well, I get food at the grocery store. I don't need to, like, hunt for it.
I think you're basically presenting the absolute worst, shitty, bad faith talking points that would be on Tucker Carlson, and you sound like a moron.
No, I think I'm actually very intelligent.
Coming from a guy that doesn't know anything about food chain or baking bread.
Okay, I know a lot about food supply chains, mostly
for liquor,
for fruit and alcohol. I have already seized the means of production.
Sure,
I own a farm.
You capitalize the means of production.
Oh no.
Oops.
No,
the only revolution that's going to happen is a slow descent into fascism. That's our only option at this point.
So I guess, like, as white males, we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, we'll be all right.
Yeah, and like as a business owners as well, we'll be
all right.
We'll be fine because
Are you Jewish?
No.
then you'll be fine.
the fascist ethno-state is going to be like, well, they're white producing members of society. I think we're fine, right?
Yeah, we won't be persecuted. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, unless they listen to this podcast in its entirety.
Well, I think like it's not like anyone's not being like, I hate fascism. I think that's a pretty popular sentiment.
No, for sure. It's definitely. I think the street fights are going to be pretty epic.
Yeah.
Within our lifetime, there's going to be like, and you've already seen this in like Portland and a number of other places, but like you saw what happened with BLM. Now imagine it's bad enough that even the white people get mad enough to join that, like, because it's going to be it's currently, like the fascist sympathizers are going to be 10-15% of your population that are actually willing to buy into that and back it with their fists, and same with the other side. But I don't know, I like to think I have some shred of hope in humanity that there could be mass mobilization against those people, enough that it's like, usually when the Proud Boys have stopped coming up to certain cities like Portland, because every time they would bring 200 Proud Boys, they would be fought off by like 800 Antifa people.
There's
and
a
like
Proud
that's all
Boy-
you got to do. You just got to keep showing up and out, like just showing more bodies and face, and they're fucking cowards, so they go home.
There's a
Even 1-to-1, they go home.
There's a Proud Boy running for school trustee here this year. And
Yeah, they're doing a lot of that shit. They're politically outmaneuvering the left fucking handily, man. They're doing really well.
Also Patrick Allard's running for school trustee.
Nice.
Who is a notorious anti-vaxxer here in Winnipeg.
Yeah, and we were talking about this on our call a little bit, or I was talking about it. The Claremont Institute in the States, they're educating and pushing forward a new generation of politicians that are going to be really effective, or people that are going to get into politics, and they're setting a narrative that's going to work quite well. And I can see how it's a lot of people are going to fucking fall for that stuff, and I think the right is going to have a huge amount of success in politics in the next probably decade. It's going to be a lot. It's going to be QAnon people in fucking public office. It's going to be school board trustees that are just straight up Nazis, and it's just going to keep going. And like I don't want to get into it, but we also were debating this whole kerfuffle around this shop teacher with the giant anime titties.
Yeah, I don't want to put a opinion on.
No, I'm not
going
going
to
to I'm not going to put an opinion out there, except for the fact that it's brilliant cannon fodder for the right, and they are running the fuck away with it, and that's just going to keep on keeping on. And they're very good at it, and the left is not as good at it.
Yeah, I guess, like, do we have anything to worry about? Like, how are entrepreneurs treated in Nazi Germany? This might be a dark pathway to go, but can I still run my business freely under a fascist ethno-state of Canadian white nationals?
Well, it's not like they believed in a free market.
Maybe not.
It was more like,
I guess the same way Republicans believe in a free market.
It was more like seizure of Jewish assets and redistributing it to military personnel.
Okay, maybe Nazi Germany is a bad example, but that's just the best example. Like, think about, like, on a far right authoritarian state, how we looking?
I mean, probably fine. I'll definitely be fine. You'll probably be fine. Like, for our specific types of things we do, like, the only thing that could get us in trouble is the shit we say.
I could see, like, Americans fascist ethno-state banning alcohol. But
they would still all drink it.
But I can't imagine.
Like, they would ban it publicly, but they would still all get drunk every night.
Oh, which exactly what happened in Prohibition, right?
I mean, there is like it.
But I just can't imagine Canada banning alcohol. Like,
No,
it's too ingrained in us.
There's like the whole. Are you familiar with like the NoFap movement and ideology?
The semen retention.
Yeah, that idea, that
Yeah.
kind of entire segment. It's like being straight edge, clean, no drugs, no alcohol, no caffeine, no jerking off, no women, no sex, no porn, no anything. It's just that combined with this, like the Southern Baptist sort of Protestant beliefs, all that kind of combining. Like there are Republicans right now that are just straight up saying that God should be like the head of our state.
Yeah.
So who the fuck knows where that goes? Because it's like you can make the Bible say whatever the fuck you want it to say.
Yeah, I guess like we'll be definitely labeled like communist sympathizers with half the shit that we say.
Yeah, we're not wholesome. I mean, I think my business partner, he would really be fine.
Yeah.
Because, he's center, like right, center, right, and religious, and like, yeah, he'll be fine. He's a family man. There's nothing problematic about him.
A family guy?
Yeah. If the guy ran for president, if the guy ran for president, I think the worst thing they'd find out is like he was a skateboarder and like might have done some like sweet grinds at the public library where you shouldn't.
Yeah, see,
we're not that clean. We can't pretend that we're that clean.
when I had political aspirations, my whole idea was to kind of do the Trump, where I'd be like unapologetic about my colored past, because I didn't rape anyone, I didn't assault anyone. Like, I just say questionable things and do questionable things, but nothing like.
Right, but if you don't have power, that's going to make you the biggest target.
Well, I don't have political aspirations anymore.
But still, like all those things, and then not having power to defend yourself is going to make you.
Yeah,
because you're doing all the offensive shit with no means of.
Yeah, I guess like
yourself.
My kind of idea in life was to kind of like get rich and then run for public office, like literal. And I
literally
before
the
you say
American
anything,
dream.
But before you say anything, like I had this idea written down like way before Trump wanted to become president.
Well, I mean, you're naming most politicians.
That's fair, but like I remember in like 2012 when I was like 16, I was like, here's my path to like my life path, right? And that was the whole idea, was just be kind of unapologetic about it, and just like people would respect that, I guess, would be the idea. But then when I got into politics, whenever that was a few years ago, it was kind of more of a happenstance kind of thing. Like it just was, I was trying to like follow a movement that was growing, and then got out of that very quick because, and that was like one of the last shreds of my hopefulness in the system.
Yeah.
Is that like, oh, they're all just fascists, just some of them want dental care. Like, no, none of them care.
It, like that one, you told this story previously, I think on the podcast, the one, was it an MP that we had that served like a few days, was in one session.
Yeah.
And just saw what it was like behind the curtain and just said, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah, a woman from, it was either, I think it was an MP. MP from one of the territories.
MP would be like a congressperson for you Americos.
Or state senator?
More like a congressperson.
So
we have senators.
Yeah, but they're different here.
Sort of.
Anyway, but yeah, so the member of parliament for one of the territories was like, I think like a young indigenous woman. And yeah, like within like 6 weeks, she resigned from the post because she saw like the conservatives and the NDP and the liberals all like yelling at each other on the floor and then walking out in the hallway and laughing about it and just like conspiring together, and like it was all a club, and they were like holding, like not letting her in even though she was an elected official. She's like, oh, this is not, she like had the intention of like changing it from the inside.
Yeah. And
then it was like, oh, it's not the bad people in the position, it's the system is bad.
Yeah, I've heard some pretty crazy stories about, U.S. Congress people and senators, how there's like, they have, one of the perks of being in one of those positions is you just get free food all the time. Like, and like there's a cafeteria with great food, and it's serving all the time, where they'll like make you food, and it's just all free, and it's all there. So in between sessions and other recesses, because they have these long ass days, and they're not going to go, off the Capitol grounds and go seek out a restaurant. They just go to the cafeteria. And it's literally high school. Like there's cliques, And if you're not backing someone's bill because you don't like believe in it, or maybe your constituency is against it, but like maybe your party whip is pushing it, you're gonna get fucking bullied.
Well, who's this guy that didn't play the party line, so then they like accused him of having orgies or something?
Exactly.
What happened there?
Are you talking about Madison Cawthorn?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, basically that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal because there's the whole the cognitive dissonance is fucking beautiful. Like, it's whoever made this bad, if it was on purpose,
Bravo. Yeah.
bravo. I'm pretty sure it's just Black Manafort and Stone, but
see, and then there's allegations, and you always see it come up in media and like different things, and like you get played off as a conspiracy theorist, obviously, but then like there's allegations that the politicians don't even know how much they're being manipulated, like how much the system is rigged against them.
Right, they're victims.
Like they think they're making a difference, but it's actually like it's all played out.
Well, I think that just comes from the fact that nobody's in control. Which is also possible. Like that's a scary answer that I think a lot of people don't want to consider, is the fact that there's a lot of actors, there's a lot of power moving, and there's a lot of people that can broker a lot of power and push a lot of people to do certain things, but you can only control so many people and so many of their decisions and behaviors, and even then, each of those people is going to have a degree of their own input. So to what extent can you impose your will on other people? Like, there's the politics as an idea is a good idea because it's about compromise, it's about negotiation, it's about taking a group of ideas and mashing them together with a certain other group of ideas, and how do you find a middle ground, right? Like the idea of that is great, but then you add in lobbyists, you add in money, you add in like private and special interests.
Well, because as of right now, the like all our parties are just debating and trying to make compromises on stuff that nobody wants.
Right.
Like it's not like they're help. Like it's not like, oh, one person being like, oh, we should abolish capitalism, and the other person be like, oh, capitalism's kind of cool, it's got us this far, maybe we shouldn't, and they compromise somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, there's none of that in the debate anymore, because
they're just like, should we let 87,000 people die of homelessness, or should we let 86.5 people die? You know what I mean? Like, it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's
the incentives are all fucked up, and it's just become a game and an industry in and of itself. Like, it's lived long enough to become the enemy of itself, right?
Yeah.
But what I was going to say about Scandal, the insanity, I think, of QAnon existing and people believing that God King Trump is going to stop all these pedophiles and destroy this cabal or whatever the fuck they believe in.
Are they dumping that now that like all the predictions didn't happen?
No.
Because remember, I hear a lot less about QAnon though than I did before.
Let me finish my point.
Yeah. Okay,
so you have all this happening, and these people are a part of the group that supports people like Matt Gaetz, right? Because Matt Gaetz just panders.
Didn't he rape a kid?
Matt Gaetz is guilty, allegedly, guilty of sex trafficking. Because he was basically fucking someone who was underage and also transporting them, quote unquote, like across state lines for the purpose of having sex with them. And it's like, it's pretty plain. Like, it's an open... they have him dead to rights. It's still currently happening.
I just don't know why they would put an age on love. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, if he wants to...
So there's literally a guy who's guilty of sex trafficking and is a pedophile and has...
How old was she?
Like 16, 17.
Okay, so it's fine.
But he's like a multi-millionaire in his 40s. And he's like taking her from her parents' house. And
married too, right?
Yeah.
This is like an extra...
Or maybe... No, I don't know if he's married.
Extracurricular.
It's not... he's fucking gross. Even his fellow politicians...
If this is your first episode...
Call him fucking gross.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah, no shit. But yeah, so he's fucking gross, and it's like, but there's no criticism of that behavior, but the worst sin that a Democrat
Well, she's mature for her age.
Just laying out all the good points.
Do we
all
know
the
what she looks
reasons
like?
She's probably.
Do you think she was asking for? I can't even get through that one.
What was she wearing when she
Yeah.
got on the plane?
Yeah, I can't even get through that.
Fucking hell.
Was he on Epstein's plane?
I think that was before his time.
Right.
He's very recent.
Isn't that wild that the list just is gone?
Is it?
The black book.
Hmm.
Like,
I think it'd be more
Epstein-
wild if it wasn't.
allegedly Epstein like recorded everything on the island for like blackmail, and that's how he was able to like become so powerful.
Yeah.
And we don't have any of those videos. It didn't back up anywhere. Like, this was what did Epstein do? What was his like career?
You know, you can contact like the federal government and have like a sex tape or like nudes of you scrubbed from the internet.
Should I do a FOIA request on the sex tapes from Epstein's Island?
I'm just saying they're capable of scrubbing shit, and I'm pretty sure if they wanted to, they would. And
Yeah,
could.
but like, he probably had like some sort of fail-safe backup, right? Like, I would.
Well, yeah, he had to, but I think there was. I don't know. I just
Or was a deal made, right?
Yeah, I think he just kind of reached the end of his usefulness. And
Well, do you subscribe? Like, do you think he maybe wasn't killed?
Very possible.
Like that. Notice how I said maybe he didn't kill himself. I'm saying maybe he wasn't murdered.
Yeah.
Like, I'm almost thinking maybe they were like, okay, here's the deal. You give us all your backups. You give us your black book. We burn them. We'll fucking put Ghislaine in jail. You go free.
Yeah, it's like the
And we kill some body double.
it's like that crypto exchange person that just
yeah, Quadriga.
yeah
Dip the fuck. Largest.
just quote unquote died, but also sent a large sum of money to people who are professional
so
make you disappear people.
What happened was, it was Canada's largest crypto exchange, and I'm still pissed because I had $50 on there that's gone. But the founder dies in a boating accident or something. Like, he was like kayaking on a river in like India.
Classic.
Or I think it was like even worse than India. that sounded bad. I meant like more obscure of a country, like somewhere that doesn't have like extradition treaties. And he like dies in a river boating accident. They don't find a body. And then it turns out the entire crypto that was there, like $300 million, was like siphoned out onto a memory stick, onto like cold storage. And he's the only one with the password. And then he dies the next day.
Yeah.
It's like, for sure he just disappeared, right?
Yeah.
And then they interrogated his wife for like weeks. And then after they like let her go, now she's done. She's gone. Like MIA.
Nice.
But they can't look for her because she didn't do anything illegal, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, they're 100% together in some fucking, in like Norway or something.
Yeah, if crypto guy can do it, Epstein can do it. Like, Epstein had way more power and money than that
We could
guy.
just go back to his island, right?
Or any one of his islands, yeah.
Yeah, so he's probably just living somewhere. He fucking grows a mustache, right? Like,
Yeah, I'm sure he just got a new face and move on.
there's a it's in Narcos, but it really happened in real life. The guy who inherited the largest Mexican drug cartel in the world. I forget his name, but it was they called him the Sky King or something, because he would fly in like 60 planes at a time, just filled with drugs. He never got caught. It was like this whole anyway, but he was the he died allegedly on the run. He got plastic surgery to change his face. And then he died during the procedure in like a Mexican hospital. Allegedly.
Yeah.
And even in the show, because I knew, like, I was, that's like the last season of Narcos Mexico, I think, which came out like pretty recent, like during COVID. But I was big into that stuff. I just love drug dealers. I think they're fascinating.
That's why we're friends.
It's the purest form of entrepreneurship is drug dealing, right? Buy low, sell high. unregulated, no taxes. Like it's the purest form of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, especially when they run protection rackets and
Hey,
kill my family members.
hey,
It's fine.
it's fine. Do you think that was your family that died in that car crash? Do you think that was a cartel hit?
No, it was definitely just a car crash.
Okay. Anyway,
They wouldn't have died if they were wearing their seatbelts.
anyway, so he died changing his face in a plastic surgery disaster or something.
Which is just the
But-
best way to complete that whole process.
But-
Is like he went under with a new face. Oh, and he died. Now he's dead, and he has a new face.
But yeah, even the show kind of implied that he didn't actually die,
Yeah.
because apparently, like in real life, Google this, the Fuentes, I think, his last name. They've never recovered the. They like
Right.
he like had his doctor do a private autopsy or something, and
Right.
like
They
it
just
was
been
like.
they just bin Laden'd him out a helicopter.
Well, and it's like this, this isn't a United States operation in 2001. This is a fucking Mexican cartel in Mexico
Yeah.
in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Like it's like the chain of command there, or the chain of what do you call it, where like evidence gets tampered
Custody.
with? Custody. The chain of custody with this guy's body, with like Mexican cartels that are known for owning police
yeah.
in his like hometown. Like I don't know about that. So like yeah, yeah.
So you mentioned QAnon earlier, and
Yeah.
actually, Q has actually just come active again.
Okay, so let's take the shot and then talk about it. This is the part of the show where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we take. Tyler was swearing a lot, so today we're taking a shot of Swear Jar whiskey, which we both do not like.
I was swearing a lot.
I don't know.
You've never said that to me before. Oh, burns a bit.
I curse a lot, just like in my vernacular, and I can't stop it. Like it's an impulse.
Yeah.
And I don't notice it
No.
until, especially like around you guys, that I'll do the same thing and don't call me on it. But every so often, I'll be telling a story, and like my friend goes, "Dude, there's a kid right there." I'm like, "What?" Like it doesn't occur. Like, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess I just said that fucking guy." Like, you know what I mean? Like it's just like, some of my
You're just talking.
yeah,
It's
some
not
of,
cursing. It's language.
well, some of my like ums and ahs as well. I'd be like, fucking, like, you know, it's just part of my
Yeah.
vocabulary, and sometimes it just I'll get like a look from like an older person I'm talking to, and I'm like, oh yeah, sorry, like this is how I fucking talk.
Oops.
I didn't even mean to do that. I'm not kidding. Anyway, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, because swear jar, and then. I think it's like not necessarily unprofessional. Like it might like I find that way of doing business where it's like you need to be proper. It's like that's such an antiquated kind of.
I find it best to just ignore them.
Someone told me one time that's like swearing is because you have nothing better to say or something.
Yeah.
Like,
I was gonna.
and I
It is a colorful way to talk. And
That is-
fuck you for saying otherwise.
that is the fucking antithesis of the truth. How do you like that? I got some big words. Because I have a pretty good vocabulary, and I also curse a lot. So I think it's fine. Anyway,
I won't criticize you on it.
I don't think it's unprofessional anymore. I think like
No.
be polite about it, right? As long as you're not cursing at somebody.
Yeah, there's certain times that I'll hold back, like with
Of course.
really professional setting
My
meetings,
grandmother.
whatever. Well, I was gonna say like meetings where I don't really know people,
Yeah, you got to feel them out first.
and it's when it's a very formal setting. You know, if I'm like with a client and a builder and like maybe the architects there, like I'm not gonna just cuss. Like it'll just seem like I'm being too casual or cavalier about the
Yeah,
conversation.
and that's also like a respect thing because you don't know how they perceive it. You
Well,
know what
not
I mean?
even that. It's just as like is a polite language, I guess. I shouldn't say polite language. It's just are you taking this conversation seriously?
That's a good point, and I think that's fine. But then there's also like I know people that like they wouldn't want a recording of them cursing, for instance.
Yeah.
like they wouldn't want this podcast out there where they're
Right.
saying stuff like that because it would like hurt their image.
Yeah, like I'll like say a whole statement, being concise and not swearing, and then they'll ask a question, and I'll be like, fuck yeah. Like,
Yeah.
it's not like no swearing, but you know.
Yeah, feel it out. I just don't think it's it's not the dagger it used to be.
No,
Like, it won't kill your professional career.
certainly not.
No.
They're not gonna fire me because
Just don't
I
curse
swore
in
at them.
court. In court, don't curse at your grandmother, and you're probably fine.
True.
So
Church is also fine.
well, they say ass in the Bible, so you're allowed to say that.
Speaking of the Bible,
Oh, God.
so cue at another drop.
Yeah, so I was gonna for as far as like QAnon goes, I stopped really seeing a lot about it because I think like at a certain point, because they were like, January 20th, Trump's gonna fucking unveil his entire plan
Yeah.
and arrest Joe Biden, and then be like declare himself the first president of the Republic of the United States, and then have all the evidence ready on TV, like with emergency broadcast system, to show that they are indeed pedophiles, and has a fucking military tribunal, secret underground, and then they kept just pushing the date back every time it didn't happen,
Well, yeah.
like 30 times.
I don't think they necessarily pushed the date back. They just kept on making new predictions that didn't come true.
But like, how many times can you be fucking wrong before
I
it's
would
like?
I'd say probably. I'm just making shit up, but I'd say, based on what I know about people, is I think probably about half, between 50 and 75% of people would have dropped off after all these things stopped or continued to not happen. They would maybe retain some of the beliefs of like all Democrats are pedophiles, but not believe in the Q conspiracies.
Because
They'll retain some values and beliefs from it, but they're going to kind of walk away because they feel disenfranchised. But then the remaining people are just going to stick to it because, like, the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
Yeah, and they add up numbers in the Bible and say Jesus is gonna come back, and they keep fucking it up.
So the Seventh-day Adventists started as like an apocalyptic death cult, and
that's every Christian sect.
Them more so than and theirs is recent. And then when the apocalypse didn't come, it just evolved into a church and became what it is today, and people just stuck with it. It's like, why are you still doing this? And like Kellogg, the famous cum doctor, was. Look him up. Kellogg was like the main guy of this, and he eventually became disenfranchised or was like excommunicated from it because he became too powerful. Like, cults are fucking crazy.
And then eventually,
and their predictions not coming true doesn't necessarily break them down. But now Q came back. But here's one of my favorite things that I've heard.
Hold on. So Kellogg invented Frosted Flakes. That's what I was gonna say 5 minutes ago. Okay, continue.
Yeah, that guy. Yeah, you famous cum doctor. Love shooting stuff off his ass. Seriously, look him up.
I know.
So the Queen died. I don't know if you.
Oh,
I don't
no.
know if you have read the news, like literally anything recently. But
Apparently, cable TV is just that's all it is now.
yeah, that's all it is. Yeah.
Is the funeral?
Yeah, fuck her.
Fuck her.
So long die the Queen, and
God save the Queen.
she died exactly. I don't know. I haven't actually done the math. I don't know if it's fucking true, but allegedly, according to Q and followers, Queen died 1,776 days after Q's first post.
Oh no. Oh no. That's a coincidence that might get a lot of people back.
And now Q is back.
Oh no.
And also, coincidentally, the midterms are coming up. Like, Q is it's a political play, and I think one of the most compelling theories that I've heard about it is someone's traced it back to, via IP addresses and whatever, to a certain senator's campaign.
Oh really? To like support the Republican fringe.
A GOP senator's campaign, and it's like a Trump sycophant, and yeah, it's like
seems like a lot of work.
But is it?
So
it's only a handful of social media posts. Like, it's not.
And then it's just the people ran away with it.
Yeah.
Because I saw it as
it's an ingenious marketing campaign.
Yeah, like I get, like it got so insane though, because it was like they like the QAnon supporters really believed that Q was likely, not Robert, the other Kennedy, the kid,
Oh,
JFK Jr.
yeah,
Q is JFK Jr. because we never found a body.
right.
He like died in a plane crash, right,
Mm-hmm.
or something. Or Robert, one of them died in a plane. I don't. They all died suspiciously. The entire family.
Yeah,
And so they think that JFK Jr. is actually alive and he's Q
yeah,
and he's working with Trump
yeah.
to bring down.
And Trump's leaning into Q more and more. Like I've seen
Yeah,
probably.
Well, I guess the what was it? Jan what?
I mean, like last few weeks.
oh, word,
I've seen
I've been really busy.
I've seen probably a dozen articles in the last week of people commenting on kind of how he's leaning more into it because he's effectively becoming more desperate and he's losing a lot of the moderate support because of his legal troubles, right?
Do you
he's
think
facing legal troubles because of his personal finances
do you
and
think
his
this
real
is,
estate practices?
this
Like
whole raid thing is gonna stick?
more than likely, yeah, in part of it, like at least in part. So the latest update on that, so they the judge allowed for a special master, which is basically like a third party mediator to review the evidence to make sure all the evidence admitted can actually be used as evidence.
I want to be a special master.
It's a judge. So the special master held a hearing and basically said, okay, this is how things are going to go. And the reason Trump's team wanted it is like some of those things in that were seized were privileged attorney-client stuff. Some of it was declassified things that like are Trump's property, and like those can't be used in the case. And so the special master's like, okay, so the DOJ, Department of Justice, that was seeking this stuff, they've told us, they gave us a list of all these documents, and they've said which ones are classified and at what level and for what reason, whatever. And okay, so Trump's team, you tell us which documents are attorney-client protected, and you tell us which ones you declassified, and how and when and where, and like just give us that information. And they're like, no.
Word, mood.
So it's like the DOJ is like, okay, here's everything, here's all the information. Trump's team is like, we don't want to talk about it. We'll talk about it later because it might come up in the trial, or we might need this information for the trial. I don't know, they gave some bullshit excuse. The special master's like, well, okay, if you don't give this information, it's not going to go favorably for you. And then they still refuse to give any information, because it's a fucking lie. So it's like it's currently not going well for them, even though the judge granted the special master and took the Trump team's recommendation. So the special master was nominated by Trump's lawyers.
Doesn't Trump have like the best lawyers though?
Well, yeah, the best he can afford, and that will touch him.
Fair. I guess a lot of people.
The best lawyers won't touch him.
Can he get like Coughlin, the fucking OJ guy?
I think he wants that guy.
Can you get Kim Kardashian?
That would be amazing.
She's a lawyer.
That would be amazing.
That's a thing.
Oh,
She-Hulk.
I don't think she's past the bar where he's being sued, but
You see this She-Hulk attorney at law?
I want to.
I thought it was a joke. Like, I thought it was like a Photoshop, like making fun of how the MCU has like gone downhill. Yeah. It's like, what if they made a fucking where she's just a lawyer? I thought that was the meme.
Yeah.
No, it came out. It's on fucking Disney Plus. Like, it's a show.
I kind of want to watch it.
Like, it's...
I want to see what it's about.
I
saw a little clip from it.
I saw the fucking thing that all the conservatives were getting mad at, which was she was twerking with Megan Thee Stallion.
Uh-huh.
You know that song? Body yada 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 yada. That song? They're twerking to it.
Uh-huh.
In like a law office.
Okay.
And remember, like, Marvel is like notorious for like making their animators work like ungodly hours for like no pay.
Okay.
They are. They've like gotten shit for that.
I know nothing about this.
Yeah. So that like it's no secret that like animators is like the shittiest job. They make you work like fucking 12-hour days like every day for like minimum wage basically. And you have to like hit deadlines, and if you don't hit the deadline, like you have to stay there all night and like hit the deadline. So they're like notorious for this.
Like a startup.
So I just saw a bunch of like memes that were just like the lawsuits from employees being like, oh yeah, we had to work 24 hours straight. And then it's like superimposed over them like She-Hulk twerking. And it's like, this is what they had to do. Like this is their
that's
like
incredible.
you've wasted
That's incredible.
500,000 man hours on this is what you created, right?
There is a point to be made there.
And then a lot of like,
But the point is not twerking. The point is worker exploitation.
yeah, which is funny.
You were so close.
Because of,
You were so close.
we keep talking about that recently, where like the
right-
conservatives approaching the point, right?
the right can't mean.
Because like Ben Shapiro, is a big.
That's just a perfect analogy of that too.
Ben Shapiro is a big movie fan,
Mm-hmm. I
so
bet.
he does movie reviews all the time on his like personal YouTube.
Oh, so that's why you follow him so much.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes I'll watch him just to see his opinions. They're always bad. But he hates all the new Star Wars, for instance, because they're all woke in quotations. But he loves old Star Wars, like whatever. And this is his thing too.
Because
He's
they
like, oh, I
had
love
incest.
so he's like criticizing. He's like, just imagine Stan Lee rolling in his grave right now for like She-Hulk twerking. I don't care about the MCU. I have only seen.
Also, don't care about Stanley.
I don't give a shit about Stan Lee. He seemed like a cool guy though.
Yeah, but he's dead. Like
He is dead.
Who
He doesn't
cares
give a-
what She-Hulk does?
He doesn't give a fuck. No.
No, I'm sure he
Um,
doesn't care. He got that check.
Also, the amount of shit that he put in, like he approved to go in his comic books. Like, do you see that fucking like Spider-Man killed Mary Jane with radioactive semen? That's like canon.
Wow.
Yeah. He seemed like a pretty cool guy. I watched that interview with him on Larry King,
Yeah.
and the part that stood out to me was they're both old. Obviously, they were both like in their and they're both dead now.
Yeah.
But they're both like 90s when they were talking about this, and they started talking about death. And they're like, "Are you scared of death?" and stuff like that. And like, there's a whole big like, look that up if you're interested in either of those people. But it was just interesting seeing like two really kind of old stoic men who have really accomplished a lot in like journalism and media to just like be like who have like created a legacy, talk about like their own
Death.
upcoming demise, which is like inevitable
Yeah.
and very close for them. And it was super interesting. So if you're interested, look that up. But Stanley seemed like a cool guy.
Yeah. No, I'm sure he was a fine guy.
I saw a clip of him talking about like he liked how Spider-Man didn't have any skin showing because then like black kids and Asian kids could imagine themselves as Spider-Man,
Right.
and you don't know because you never see him.
Yeah.
And I thought that was interesting. Like it's just like stuff like that where he was like, I think really like writing into his comics like gay characters and stuff like before it was kind of mainstream.
Yeah.
Which is then ironic to see like Ben Shapiro being like the fucking woke mob has stolen MCU, where it's like Stan Lee was a really tolerant guy. Except, fun fact, in the Lou Ferrigno Hulk, whenever that fucking came out in the 80s,
Yeah.
they changed the name from Bruce Banner to John Banner or something. I don't know what they changed it to, but they changed it away from Bruce, and the official explanation was Bruce sounded too gay. So they changed the name to something more masculine, quote. That's real.
Incredible.
Yeah. Shout out my Uncle Bruce.
Shout out my Uncle Bruce.
Yeah, I don't know about
Nothing makes me want to dislocate my eyeballs and like relocate them facing the other way than anyone talking about the fucking woke mob. It's like, who are you talking about?
that's the
those
weirdest
people
thing
aren't
you've
real.
ever
It's
that's
like-
one of the best analogies I've ever heard you say. I
That's
want to
like-
take my eyes out and put them back in facing the other way.
Who are these people? Like, it's like it's like 4 people on Twitter.
One of
is
them
what
happening-
is what the woke mob is.
One of them happening right now. The Little Mermaid is black.
Yeah. The only woke mob I've seen is the fucking right mobbing over the black mermaid. Like,
So-
that's the mob.
She's a fish.
Uh-huh.
I saw something that was like, some guy was like, this fucking new Little Mermaid. He's like, I'm watching the trailer and they fucking changed it. It used to be a sturgeon. Now it's a mahi-mahi.
Yeah.
And he's like, this fucking attack on white fish. Like, it's so funny. Like, it's just,
Whitefish, because whitefish is like a thing.
is a thing, right?
I love whitefish.
It's a good joke. It's a multi-joke.
It's a really good joke.
It's a fish joke, and it's a racist joke, or it's a woke mob joke. So yeah, that's a fucking good joke.
Yeah. So my favorite part, I've seen another good meme on a leftist page. It's like, no, we need to go back to the original Little Mermaid, and it shows like the original sketch from like the original story, and it's just like this horrifying image. Yeah, it's like this like haunting black and white sketch that just like looks sketchy as fuck, and it's like, we need to go back to the original. And it's like, it's creepy as hell. It's gonna make the children cry.
I guess like I don't. Why do these people care what the mermaid looks like?
It's just mania. They're just trying to otherize something. They're trying to make it feel like liberalizing society, if you can even give it that label, which I think is a stupid label to give it, because it's like, okay, we're going to allow non-white representation in film while white people are a minority of the world, and we're going to make maybe a minority of television to be not white.
They were doing it again with
now this is problematic, and it's encroaching on our culture. Like, it's insane.
They were doing it with this Lord of the Rings show too.
Yeah.
There's like black elves, I guess.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet.
And people are freaking out because they're like, that's not racially correct, and like,
but it's like they're
Tolkien
elves.
to be rolling over in his grave, because it's like, but they're like, yeah, but they're like Nordic. You're not gonna have like black Nordic people or whatever. It's like there's like some argument about it,
but they're elves,
and it's like, it's this fixation on race. It's
Yeah.
like, you guys are the ones with fixation on race. We're
Yeah.
just trying to not make it about race anymore, and you're just making it about race.
Yeah.
It's like, we just like, let's just make the Little Mermaid grotesque and inhuman,
Yeah.
and everyone can be happy.
That's what we should have done with Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah,
It's made
like,
it a fucking disgusting Roger Corman fucking The Thing.
Yeah.
Beast.
I think no one should be satisfied.
So I diluted some of this whiskey with some lime juice. We're gonna take
Are they
another
gonna say
shot
there's
here.
some dilaudid in this whiskey?
I wish.
Dilaudid. That was
It
not
was
good.
Better, but
That almost tasted like marijuana.
I've never smoked marijuana, so I don't know.
That was weird.
I saw it come up on my memories. I'll put the picture on if I can remember. But my parents.
Smoked weed?
No, this was like 12 years ago, I think. It was like on this day 12 years ago or 11 years ago, like when I was in middle school.
I love the older that technology gets.
Yeah.
The weirder
And
it gets.
I was like overhearing my parents talking. And they were like talking about how they think I'm high.
Yeah.
So, like, it's like, here's a fun fact. I don't know if you know this. I didn't smoke weed until I was 18.
Yeah.
On purpose. I hung out with a bunch of people that smoked. Like a young age, like at 13, they were smoking weed. And I never touched it until I was 18. As like just a, I don't want to say like a challenge, but just like a, I'm just not going to do it until I'm of age.
Yeah.
Because it was illegal at the time. And like, obviously I didn't have any quarrels with doing illegal shit back then, but like I also knew it wasn't good for you.
It
Like,
also wasn't even cool to smoke weed here. It was so easily accessible.
And I just never did. And people tried to get me to do it all the time, and I just never did. And then I started smoking it when I was 18 because my girlfriend at the time smoked it all the time.
Yeah.
So she would like get me to smoke it every so often. I probably smoked it 15 times in my life, and I hated it every single time. Until I remember the last time I smoked, it was a house party. I was probably 18 years old, probably fresh 18. and we were all in the backyard, passed a joint around or whatever. Or I think it was a pipe or something. It was like it was too much. And then everyone went back inside from the backyard, and I was just outside like trying to like not die.
Yeah.
Like I was just like walking back and forth in the yard, and for every like 10 steps I took, it was actually like 11. But I was like, oh, how the fuck did I get here? Like, and I was just like, my vision was not working, and my like spatial awareness was not working. And I started thinking to myself, I like sit down on the picnic table, and I'm like thinking, and I'm like, I don't like this.
Yeah.
This is like not a good feeling. And then I thought back, and I'm like, have I ever liked it? And it's like I've smoked different strains, and I did like a little bit out of a joint before, and I took a bong hit, and every single time it was bad. I was like, I'm just never gonna do this again, and I haven't touched it since.
Yeah.
And that was 8 years ago.
You like occasionally take like a pop off joint though, right?
I don't think so. Maybe when I'm like super high on drugs.
I think I've seen you like take a puff, but that doesn't really do anything for
Yeah,
you. When you're already fucked up and you take a puff, you're not gonna really notice it.
I don't like, maybe on like some of the harder stuff we've done, but like if I'm blackout drunk, I wouldn't take a puff of a joint.
No.
There's no way. I just wouldn't. But maybe like there's been a couple times where like my friend told me, I can't verify if this is true or not, but if you do MDMA and you're coming down on MDMA and you smoke weed, it'll reinvigorate the MDMA.
Allegedly, I can confirm.
So if you're too poor to afford multiple hits in a night, you can stretch it out longer.
Yeah, and it just makes the come down easier.
Yeah. So
apparently,
if I was ever gonna smoke
according
weed,
to our friend,
yeah, that would be how I did, why I would do it. But no, I don't think you've ever seen me. Maybe as a joke, but like no, I don't. And then like our friend group knows that I don't, obviously, so they never pass me the joint or anything.
Yeah.
And then whenever there's like a new girlfriend or something, like I did this to Bella recently.
Yeah.
Where she passed the joint the other way, and I'm like, you're not gonna fucking pass me the weed? And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry. And then Mitch is like, no, he's fucking with you. Like, so yeah, like when there's a new girlfriend or like, you know, someone outside the circle that doesn't really know us well, I'm always like, well, you know, you're not gonna give me any,
because everyone's ignoring you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
it's
just not my thing. Just
I
not
was gonna say my photos app just gave me kind of the same thing, like, oh, this day 12 years ago, or was it 12 or 10 years ago, I can't remember, but was the day I found my at the time and kind of still dream car, my Nissan Skyline, like sitting behind someone's garden shed, like under a bunch of dust and whatever, looking like shit with a for sale sign in the window. And yeah, that was the start of an adventure. I'm like, oh yeah. But it's so funny to have like so much of your life chronicled.
Oh, I love it.
Digitally. Like,
see,
it's kind of crazy.
People are like, don't like fucking just live the experience. Don't take pictures, dude. I love it. I fucking you see me fucking taking Snapchats constantly. Like, well, I just love documenting. I think it's really important. Honestly.
Yeah. So my girlfriend every year she takes all the pictures, all the best of the pictures that we've taken all year between me and her of all the adventures we've gone on, all the stuff we've done together, and puts them into this like digital or into this app, whatever. Edits them, lays them out digitally, and then gets a physical album printed.
Oh man, when you break up, you're gonna fucking cry reading those in like 4 a.m.
You think I'm gonna be the one keeping them?
Got him!
There's no way I'm gonna get to keep those. No, but they're all in physical albums now, and it's like you almost like evaluate the quality of your year based on like the pictures you got.
Why didn't we take anything in 2019? Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's like
COVID.
Yeah, and then you remember it's like, well, that was the first album, was like the year we stopped going out or something like that. I forget what she titled it. And then the year we really didn't go out, I think, was the next one, where it's like the first year of the pandemic, it's like was like, oh, we kind of didn't go out. The second year was like, oh, actually nothing happened.
Yeah.
And just a bunch of shit like that. But yeah, we get to the end of like a season and we're looking back at our pictures and we're like, I feel like we did a lot of stuff, but fuck, we don't have any good pictures. Like, and it almost becomes this thing of like, did we even do anything? And then you got to sit there and try to remember. It's like, oh yeah, we went on this trip and like we did this thing and it was pretty cool. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that. And it's like, but you got to put effort into it. And like, this was 2 months ago. And yeah, if you didn't take pics,
Pixar didn't happen.
I'm sorry, but you're gonna fucking forget it.
I just think it's important to. Part of the reason why we do this podcast too, I think it's important to document my journey. I think that's like honestly something that the human race should do.
Yeah.
Is just like we're not going to be here forever, but this stuff will be here forever.
And I think
it's important.
I think it'd be funny if we did a version of this podcast that was like completely uncensored in terms of like, obviously we censor ourselves a lot. We don't talk about a lot of things. We don't talk about things we're currently working on. We don't talk about personal stuff. We don't. It's not like a true diary or journal.
No.
This is stuff we're willing to say to the public. So keep in mind the actual shit that's going on in our lives is a lot worse or more interesting or better or
there's just stuff we can't talk about, obviously.
Yeah, and
business deals and there's just stuff we can't talk about.
But what if we did a podcast where we just like let her buck and it was just for us?
Maybe like once a quarter.
And it just gets hacked and one day ruins our lives. And it's like we're sitting on the fucking stand and it's like playing in the it's a playing and there's a jury staring at you and you feel their eyes burning into the side of your head and you're like, yeah, I'm going to prison because I definitely wanted to.
No, I cannot explain that podcast, and yes, I will be resigning as mayor.
Exactly. And she looked at least 18.
16 is the age of consent in this country, I will say.
It's true.
You know what's funny is
as long as
that
you don't take a picture.
I might cut this out, but
Please
you know
do.
what's funny is that, not funny, but like when I look at even an 18-year-old, have you ever met an 18-year-old recently?
Honestly, no.
Okay. I've met a couple.
Recently, as in last year, I could say yeah.
I just hired one, for instance.
Sure.
She's 19.
Okay,
Well,
I've met her.
I would never want to have sex with this woman. They're
Thanks for laying that out.
Fucking weird, and they're saying shit I don't understand, and they don't know anything about anything. And they're so small. They're way too fucking small. Their arms are way too fucking long. I don't know about these 18-year-olds.
They're too small. Their arms are long. Yeah, I think you've just boiled it down. No, I don't know. I think like the furthest I've dated down was like into Gen Z, like well into Gen Z, like exactly what you're describing. And it's like,
my ex was 3 years younger than me.
Yeah, I think the farthest I've gone is 6.
Half your age plus 7. That's the rule.
Yeah, it was well past that.
So what's mine? Hold on. I'm 26. 13 plus 7, 20?
Yeah.
That tracks.
About, yeah.
Half your age plus 7 works every time. I'm not kidding. Do it at any age, it'll work.
Yeah.
It'll make sense.
But anyways, it was like... it was really weird because we could... like, there's certain things we could talk about, and it was... we could talk about future, we could talk about careers, we could talk about aspirations and family and problems and all these things, but it's just, there was almost like there was a slight culture disconnect. I don't want to go as far as saying like a language barrier, but that is almost a part of it. But it's definitely culture disconnect. Like if you hang out with someone from a different country for long enough, it's like there's going to maybe be a lot of things you have in common, but if you go deep enough, there's going to be things you entirely can't even relate on. Like I went out with a girl from Belarus, and that is a disconnected culture from where we're at, and it was like, it was hard to have a conversation.
Anyway, we're gonna transfer here into the last segment of the show called tip of the morning, where Tyler and I give you a tip in life or business that we are currently going through or whatever. I can see by his eyes he doesn't have one on the top of his head, so I'm gonna go first. Anyway, this was my... actually, I'm going to finish the story first, and then I'll give my tip. I started my story by saying my memories 12 years ago, saying my parents thought I was high.
Oh, yes.
So the irony of them thinking I was on drugs is that I actually wasn't.
Yeah.
And I used to drink... I started drinking when I was like 15. But we had a friend in our friend group that her mother was like, you can drink and do drugs, but you can't leave my house.
Right.
As soon as you start drinking, you can't leave the shitty basement, like with all the, the couches that aren't good enough for the living room. They get thrown in the basement with like, you can see the, it's just fiberglass and see-through plastic. You know what I mean? Like it's not finished, the wall.
Oh,
You
yeah.
just see the insulation and what do you call that
yeah.
plastic? Help me out here.
Vapor barrier.
Vapor barrier, yeah. So it's just like that in the basement.
Yeah.
With like shitty couches. And like
Yeah.
that's what she's like, once you start drinking and smoking weed, that's fine, but do not leave that basement.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be that parent.
And so we had a friend like that when we were 15. And her older sister, who was 18 at the time, would buy us alcohol.
Yeah.
And her older sister was also for like a year there, was dating a girl, and then they would have threesomes with a different guy every night. Or like every weekend.
Nice.
And then they both got an STI, as far as I understand. Anyway, it happens. But
Just take a pill, get over it.
some of them you can't. I've learned.
Itches beard.
I just scratched my beard if that was... anyway, but so I would drink on the weekends, but I would go to school on Monday, and like it never affected my anything, right?
Yeah.
And I was a bad student, but not because of I was an idiot. Like I purposely didn't try. I thought it was funny to like see how much I could get away with.
Yeah.
Like the fact that multiple times I would have got kicked out of school for the shit I did, but they didn't kick me out because they thought I was smart. And I heard that from multiple different people. But I was getting low grades.
Yeah. He's an idiot with potential.
That means something. Like I remember, I always tell this story of like the time where the moment where I gave up on school was in grade 11. My psych teacher, who I actually really liked, but I gave her a lot of trouble. But she was my psych and my English teacher, I think. Yeah, and whatever. Anyway, and I went there because I've told this story, so I won't go details, but I read the laws of the school, the book or whatever, and it said they can't deny you handing in final projects. They can just dock you 15%.
Maximum of, yeah.
So I just never handed in any assignments the entire year. And then on exam week, I would hand everything in mathematically enough to pass me.
Yeah.
So I'd do like 2 days straight, no sleeping of work an entire semester.
Yeah.
And they told me I couldn't do it. And I'm like, if you want to have a meeting with the school board, I'd be happy to. But it says in the back of the agenda with the rules, like this is this is what the River East Transcona School Division agreed to. When being a student, I'm agreeing to that. And then like halfway through me doing that, they'd be like, yeah, okay, fuck you. Like, you know what? Basically, well, they wouldn't say that to me, obviously, but they'd be like, yeah, fine, I'll grade it. And then I would just aim so I would get like, I would do 65% of it basically, so that they would dock 15%, and then I would pass with a 50.
Yeah.
Much more efficient system than fucking paying attention all year.
Absolutely.
Anyway, but so I went to go hand in all my assignments to her for psych on exam week. So there was no one. She was like, they're supposed to be in their classrooms in case people have questions, but there's no classes. And I walk in, I hand them in or whatever. And we're just kind of shooting the shit. And then she goes like, man, like you're one of the smartest students I've ever taught, but you don't apply yourself. Right. And I just like quipped back like, yeah, I get that a lot. And then I walked out. Right. And then later, like I was lying in bed and I was just running that back in my head. I was like, I do get that a lot. Cause I just said it as like to be a dick.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I've heard that from like 17 different teachers in my high school or through school. And it's like, why do these teachers keep going to bat for me? Like, why do they like, I fuck up and I'm about to get suspended. And they're like, no, you should be my, like, why does this happen? Right. And that was where I'm like, oh, school's just not set up for me.
Yeah. And they can recognize that.
And they recognize that I have something like one of my best examples that I always used to say was like, I would contribute very intelligently to class discussions, because some classes, especially like English classes, my sociology class I remember was very like this. It was more than half the class was just open discussion.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's about, right? Like, especially like English and whatever. And you would literally just go back and forth from students, like, just saying shit, right? So I would always contribute to the best of my abilities, because I love debating, to these conversations, but I would never raise my hand. But I would never cut anybody off.
Yeah.
But I would just like, I really resent the fucking
Hand raising.
Put up my hand and wait my fucking turn for you. Like, no. So if a teacher ever was like, you can't talk unless you raise your hand, I would never contribute in that class.
Yeah.
But then other class. So I think that my English teacher in grade 12, Martin's, who I really liked. I actually saw he bought some wine for me. But really, really liked him. He had told me that he was talking, I guess, in a meeting or whatever with all the other English teachers about how contributive I was in like discussions. And then another teacher was like, he doesn't fucking say a word. He falls asleep at the back of the class and like doesn't do anything. And then that's where they landed on, was like, he's just like, he didn't give a shit if I put my hand up.
Yeah.
You know, and this other one did. So I put my effort where the effort was given back to me.
Yeah. No, I would do the same thing in like in a career, in a workplace. And I think this is a transition of generations too, where if there was like a specific talking order or politics of contribution, I fucking smashed that. Like, I've spoken up and I've lipped off to people that were way beyond, like 7 levels above my head superiority, because I'm like, there's rules being broken, there's principles that aren't being followed that are, you know, basic safety. It was like safety issues, and I was straight up yelling at my 7 levels up superior because there was these safety issues, and he's like, oh, it's fine. And I'm like, I know for a fucking fact it ain't fine, bud. And like, I just wouldn't back down. And my direct, you know, report or direct superior was like calm the fuck down. Like, you can't talk to your superior like that. I'm like, no, this guy's enabling shit that could hurt us. It's not going to hurt him. This fat fuck sits on his chair and we have to go out there and possibly injure ourselves. And the fact that there's no regulation or enforcement of these, you know, safety precautions that are supposed to save us, like, you gotta fucking care about this stuff. And he kept on shrugging this stuff off. And I remember the last thing I said to this guy, I walked out of his office fuming mad. And granted, I was 6 days into this job. I was brand new, but I had come off of a job from another company that was way bigger. And
how old were you?
19, 18. Yeah, so brand new on site, fucking 18-year-old full of piss and anger. And last thing I said to him, and he's like, oh, it'll be fine. Like, that's not what the rules are. And I because, you know, I'm a fucking millennial, I pull it up on my phone and I literally just shoved it in his face. And I'm like, here's the fucking rule, and your argument is invalid. And he's like, oh, well, whatever, just kind of grumbling. And the last thing I said to him as I walked out of his office, and like, I was shaking, like one of those points where they like, you're like, either I could cry or scream or punch somebody right now. Like, I was so mad. And I said to this guy, and like, every single one of these regulations is written in the blood of a worker that died on the fucking job. And I'm like, if you don't take these seriously, someone else's blood is going to be on your floor. And I walked out. And I was like, my boss is like, you might get fired tomorrow, dude. He's like, but what ended up happening, there was never any repercussions. There was never any backlash for it again, and they quietly complied over the next 3 months of these things that I brought up.
That's probably the best thing you can hope for.
That was the best thing you could hope for.
Best
but like,
outcome of
this
that
guy
situation.
This guy held it against me for 4 years. Or 3 years, or however long I was there. He held it against me because I stood up to him on my 6th fucking day, and he was, you know, second to CEO in this company, and I didn't give a fuck.
I just have a problem with these, like, fucking high school teachers.
It's the same spirit, though.
It is. That's what I mean. Is like these fucking high school teachers that think they're like the authority. You took a fucking 4-year course. Like, give me a goddamn break.
And you forget 90% of what you learned in that 4-year course, but you're still riding the coattails of it.
Like, man, I just like
When's the last time you learned something new, fuckwad?
the bathroom thing as well. Like, you had to ask permission to go to the washroom.
Yeah.
After grade 8, I stopped doing that.
Yeah.
I just like would stand up and just leave without saying anything. And if they were like kind of looked at me, I'd be like mouth washroom while they're talking, like, and probably 50% of teachers didn't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
They would rather you don't disrupt their class.
Yeah.
But like, I remember, when I was 2, this is like all my memories from like being a kid are like, you know, it's like you always, if you could go back one day and live a life as like a 8-year-old Willows with the mind I have right now, where I could like formulate an argument.
Yeah.
Right. But I had this music teacher in grade school. So I probably would have been 10 at this time. She wouldn't let you go to the washroom during her class. And it's like, okay. So I remember this one time I was pissed myself because she wouldn't let me leave. And then I would like, and now look, and like this sticks out in my mind. And like I remember one time as well, because like the music room was like in the center of the school. It was like the school was like a square with like a inner courtyard.
Yeah.
But it was like, so it was a room right by the inner courtyard, but so it didn't have any windows. It was like this weird inner room.
Mm-hmm.
So it got really fucking hot in there. And some guy fainted because he was asking to go to the washroom and to like, because he was going to faint because it was too hot. And she was like, no, fuck off. And he fucking fainted off the like choir, like bleachers, whatever, right? And I'm like, this is fucked. Anyway, but when you're a kid, you can't fucking articulate an argument, right? But it's like, that's a human rights violation. Like, literally,
yeah.
Google that. Like, the UN has a fucking set, like, you can't deny people, like, prisoners, whatever. You can't deny them food. You can't deny them washroom access. Like, there's human rights that we have. And going to the washroom is one of those. I don't need your fucking permission to go piss. Like, I could fucking put you in front of a human rights tribunal for that.
I think that'd be fantastic. I'm gonna be the best parent.
Oh man! Oh, and imagine
I'm gonna go to war.
Like, and imagine if I'm 8 and I'm like threatening a human rights tribunal.
No,
like,
I'm going to send my kid to class with a printout.
With that information.
Absolutely, it's gonna happen.
But I hated, because the reason why you need to tell the teacher is so that they have a head count. They know you're in the washroom.
Right.
You need to notify them. You don't need to ask their permission.
Yeah.
And I fucking resent that. I resent the fact that I have to ask their permission to speak and go to the washroom. Like shit like I shouldn't have to ask their permission for.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. So
it's just bad policy, bad school systems.
It's bad faith
good
arguments with
Montessori schools, like the Montessori way of teaching, all of that shit is out the window.
I don't know what this is. I'm not familiar.
I don't have time to explain it to you.
Perfect.
It's the end of a podcast.
It is. So my tip of the week, going back to the weed smoking thing, don't feel like you need to bow to peer pressure. Because I was a kid and my friends wanted me to smoke weed and I said no. And my parents thought I smoked weed anyway. So that's fun. But am I a better person for that? Maybe not. But all those people that were smoking weed around me that I was friends with in like middle school are construction workers or living with their parents or a combination of both.
Nice.
So that's fun. I don't I like to brag about my success, but I don't like to brag about my success to the detriment of other people.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get better at that. Because people can do whatever they want, right? But like objectively, I've accomplished a little bit.
You've done some things.
Objectively. I know you guys all put that in the background because I'm a dick about it.
We just like to keep you down.
Which is fine. like I've accepted this is the terms of the game. If I want to be a dick, you can be a dick back to me, right? That's the terms I've agreed to. But like objectively, I've achieved more than the people that were smoking. I don't know a single successful person that smokes marijuana regularly. You don't smoke every day though. Not even close.
Me?
Yeah.
No, I meant your roommate.
Oh, he's not successful. He just took a fucking paid
I know, that's why
demotion.
that's why I looked up. I don't know. I bought a weed vape because I'm like, oh, this will be better than like painkillers and stuff for like muscle relaxant.
Yeah.
And it fell out of my pocket between the cracks of a dock into the water.
Perfect.
And I just haven't gotten around to replacing it. Like, this is my commitment to smoking weed, is like, I got the energy up after
to go to the store
after 4 months of thinking about it to like hit the store. Like, this is how low the bar is. I hit one of the 14 stores on my way home to buy a vape, which was really cheap, and an oil cartridge which lasts forever and is really potent and strong and very good.
Yep.
And I lost it in the lake, and it's been months, and I still don't have a replacement. So
I know between the two of us, we probably know personally like what 30 people that make over like $1 million a year. Maybe
Surely.
more even.
Yeah.
Like a fair amount. Like, we're pretty tied in the business community, right? Like, we know a lot of successful people. I don't know a single person that makes over $1 million a year that smokes marijuana more than 3 times a month.
You're probably right.
Isn't that interesting?
It's a vice.
Do you think that's but almost every single person I know that makes over $1 million a year drinks alcohol. There's a couple that are like clean, like no substances. Like,
but
you probably know who I'm thinking about.
Everyone gets drunk.
But we've gotten drunk
with most of these people.
With a lot of these people. Yeah.
True. But they don't drink. But they don't drink every day.
Isn't that interesting?
So are you making an argument for your business here?
No. Do you think that's a causation is not? What do you call that?
Correlation.
Like, do you think like lazy people smoke weed? Weed doesn't make you lazy?
I think people that smoke weed are not hustling for $1 million.
Like, just underachieving, lazy people.
I think that's a way to classify people. I don't think people that make less than $1 million could necessarily or should be classified as lazy or unmotivated.
Fair point. So, I'll concede that, yeah.
So that segues into my next point. I've got a number of indirect competitors in my trade, which is like really old trades that are making a comeback. So Venetian plaster, Tadillac, and like these different practices that are thousands of years old, hundreds of years old.
Can you convince your company to pay for a trip for us in February to Venice?
Not yet.
To check out the Venetian.
It's gonna happen, but not yet.
Word.
I just had a Skype call this afternoon with a company, like with a representative in Spain of a product that I use.
From Venice, Spain?
Yeah.
I love Venice, Spain.
No, all my products either come from Italy or Spain.
The spaghetti. I live in Spain. Wait.
So at one point, I am gonna get to go out there. Is not this year.
I'm coming, right?
But it'll happen.
Buddy?
Probably.
Friend? Pal?
Probably not. It'll be Branton.
But
anyways, so there's a number of trades that are kind of competing with tile, which is like Venetian style plasters and lime based plasters and cements and different. Like, I don't want to bore you with it, but
thanks.
It is cool shit though, design wise. And they take away from tile in a lot of applications. Like, oh, I want to do a fireplace, but instead of doing stone or tile, they're doing like Tadillac or Venetian plaster.
So you're getting into this instead of being outcompeted.
There's a gentleman that we have been on same job sites, a lot of the same job sites as this guy, and he has a lot of the same clientele as we do, and there's a lot of overlap. So we're not direct competitors. It's kind of like a product. Imagine as if the type of business that I'm in, it's a product line that we don't supply. So it'd be like, you sell liquor, you sell wine, you sell coolers, but you don't sell vodka coolers. So he's kind of like in that realm of things. And I think he's he's begrudgingly an entrepreneur. So from
Define that.
an hour of conversation with him, like, he really likes his trade. He likes to experiment. He likes to try new stuff. He likes challenges. He likes the work that he does.
But like no one's doing it properly, so he has to be his own boss.
No, he's gotten, like, he's one of 2 people in the province that does this.
Yeah.
So he's gone out of his way, and he's really good at it. But he chronically undercharges for his services.
Because he's just like, that's how much money I make, whatever.
Well, he's like, as long as I'm making enough money to eat, he's like, I'm happy.
Is he an immigrant?
No,
Interesting.
he's an artisan. Like,
Is he a Mennonite?
no.
Interesting.
Um,
Is that racist?
yes. But he's chronically undercharging for stuff. But in the industry I'm in, if I'm offering a solution and I say this is going to cost you $5,000,
Yeah.
and he comes in, he's like offering something of equivalent quality and appearance, and he's like, this is gonna be $3,000
because he doesn't give a shit about money, so
or he doesn't know better.
Or he doesn't know better, but so he's undercharging you. Oh, now I see the bit. You were
Right.
boring me for a second there. You brought me back.
So he's undercharging, which hurts everybody.
Yeah.
He should be charging more, but he doesn't know that.
See,
so he's hurting himself and he's hurting me.
Look at this capitalism. Maybe all of you should be charging less.
No. But he doesn't know. Like, he was asking me a lot of questions that kind of made me think, and I'm like, okay, so you don't really get the values of these different things that we're doing. So he doesn't understand baselines of certain things that go into building. So I'm like, okay, so you're pretty disconnected, you're undercharging, I think you're probably getting fucked on a lot of jobs, but he's really good. And I'm like, and I don't think he really cares.
You want to hire him?
I want to just absorb his business.
Yeah.
And I think he might go for it, because we got the other guy in the province that does this.
Yeah.
Is a lot more entrepreneurial than he is, and is wider.
You could have a division.
Yeah.
Now we're
and
talking.
it's just him.
Now you're talking my business.
So yeah, we're working on him, and yeah, I think it'd be really cool to just kind of swallow it up. And
You want me to, like, sit outside his house with a bat, be like, you better take that off, or?
I mean, if we need a stick to go with the carrot, yes.
I always wanted to get in the, like, mafia business.
It's just like, he's like, I was already on board, dude. Like,
I'm beating the
fuck off.
shit out of him.
He's like, I said yes. No, I think it'll be really good. But the only weird part is, and this might be a deal breaker, but his name is Tyler. So
That's funny too.
yeah, but he's like, a
Guys,
short
can we all
Italian looking dude with
Can
really
we all
good
admit
facial
that
hair.
Tyler being a Tyler professionally is like really funny?
It really is. I get a lot of chuckles out of it. So
It's like you were made for it. Like,
yeah, I told you the story of like this older guy on site that walked up to me. I think he was a carpenter or something, but in his 60s, fucking veteran on site. Guy just does what he does. He's the best. And we were talking a little bit, as trades guys do, like just introducing yourselves and talking about what you do. He's like, Tyler, and you're Tyler. He's like, It goes back to work. I see him 4 hours later. He walks up to me, just contemplative and very thoughtful. He's like, so, is this like a destiny thing? And I'm like,
maybe.
And he's like, and he walks away.
Yeah.
Like, dead serious. Was not fucking
That's
joking around. And he walks away and he's like,
So what was
Might be.
your tip with this story?
Find a guy.
Perfect.
No, I was going to say, the current business model, and for me, this is number one challenge for what I do, is finding talent and retaining it.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, by retaining it, is like, how do I compensate this person as well as they would reasonably kind of on their own,
Yeah.
and then run the business slightly better, charge more money, run it more efficiently.
But I guess a lot of people just want to work for money. They don't want to deal with the fucking accounting and the books and the fucking clients and the
especially
all that
after they've done it for a while and they realize how little is left over at the end.
Why, like, people I employ will be asking me questions about like the behind process, and I'm like, oh yeah, I do this and this and this, and I take your numbers, I do this and this and this and this, and they're like I don't want to do that. Like I've had conversations with like, I could never fucking start a business if this is half the shit you have to do.
See, here's a better way to explain it. If you have 6 artisans that are all working on similar things, 6 artisans, 6 businesses, and they have 6 accountants, 6 bank accounts, 6 payrolls, and 6 tax bills.
Just make it one,
or
and you'll save money.
You have 6 artisans, 1 business, 1 accountant, 1 tax bill. Way more efficient.
Everyone gets paid more.
Right.
In theory.
Everyone gets paid the same. The guy running it can get maybe paid a little bit more.
Well, now we're capitalists.
Right.
Yeah.
But the guy...
you can steal the excess labor.
Right. No.
Right.
No, the guy getting paid a little bit more is the guy who's willing to actually deal with the bullshit of the payroll and the accounting and the tax and whatever. And, like, that's what you're getting paid for, is that administration process.
Yeah.
Even if you're not one of the artisans anymore.
Yeah.
That's what I want to get into, is basically find guys that are really good at their trade and be like, hey, how much money are you actually taking home?
I'll pay you that.
How much are you working?
Yeah.
Let's work out, what are you actually netting per hour? How do I match that or better?
Yeah.
And then, in addition to that, because we have this, now we have more labor power, right? We have more talent, we have more leverage, because now we're swallowing up that part of the market. Like, there's nobody else that can do what we do. So we can have more power with the customers and say, this is the price, this is the timeline, and you don't have to deal with the customer bullshit. And for example, now he's got to work the weekend because...
and if that's not even exploiting them, because if they're getting paid the same...
Well, then they're going to get paid the same. They're going to work more reasonable hours, because this guy, perfect example, he came in today and he was like, okay, I'm going to do this fireplace today. But the tapers came in, did some touch-ups, fucked up his process. He's like, I can't work on this. There's like stuff that's curing and drying. I can't start today. Lost the entire day. Had to go home. He now has to work through the weekend in order to keep his timeline. If this was us,
you would have spaced it out.
No. If the GC was like, you have to get it done by this day, but then they went ahead and did all this touch-ups, same thing happened, we lost a day, and the GC's like, well, this is the deadline, I would look him in the face and say, go fuck yourself. You pushed me back a day, you can wait. I'm not working the weekend.
But he can't do that because he's signed a contract.
He could.
Okay.
There's no contract. There's no reason he couldn't. But he's not going to, because he's one guy with one client.
And he wants to get hired
one
again.
contract that he has today.
Yeah.
There's another contract in 2 weeks, but this is the only one he has today.
Yeah.
And he wants to get paid, and he's afraid.
Yeah. But if he was a giant company...
Not a giant company. Marginally bigger.
Yeah.
Or slightly more experienced.
So,
like, if in 3 years from now, maybe he's going to say, fuck you.
So what's the tip?
The tip is like...
Consolidate.
You took 20 minutes to get to your point. I
don't think I did.
Certainly. This is the model that we've decided on, is we're going to find artisans and we're going to try to give them a better deal than they have today and pay them as well or better than they are, but also run it as a better business. Like it's like a triple net, you could call it. Once you have that idea and something stumbles across your frame of reference, like this just randomly happened today on a job site I was on. I didn't plan to meet this guy. I didn't hit him up for a meeting. There was no formal process, but this all happened in front of me. I'm seeing all this happen, and it's hitting these points that I know match our business model. I'm like, he's begrudgingly doing this. He's straight up said, I don't like being a business owner. And he's like, I'm not getting paid enough for this. I know I undercharged for this job. And I know if he charged 40% more than he did, which is a lot, he still would have got the job based on the numbers that we're charging. Like, and these are wealthy customers. They would have paid it, and he still would have gotten the job, and he would still be getting paid. And also, he might not have to work the weekend. everything could have been better. And it's like, here's all the things you're missing, but you don't see that you're missing it. You're just accepting it. And I'm like, okay, all these things point me to you'd probably be happier, less stressed, working for somebody, doing the same job, making this money, not stressing out about it, because I can relate to it, because that's kind of the direction I went, which is why I went for a partnership. So I can empathize with this person. And this is my model, and I'm like, I'm going to find as many people like me who want the same things that I want, and I'm going to give them the same offer that I got and give them a better life. Make their life better, make my life better, further the business, everybody wins. But if I didn't have that frame of reference, if I was like, oh man, that sucks. Oh yeah, I get that. Yeah, okay, bye.
You wouldn't have even thought of it.
Totally miss the opportunity.
Yeah.
If you don't know what the fuck you're looking for, good luck. You need to, like, this comes down to, if you've ever heard of the term of, like, know your avatar. It's like, know your customer, know your client, know your avatar, know who's going to buy from you. It also goes for the people that work for you and create that value. It's just as important. Know your worker and the avatar of that worker, the person that's going to produce value with you, and or business partner or whatever that you're seeking out. If you don't understand it in advance, it's going to hit you in the fucking face and keep going, and you're never going to see it coming. You're never going to catch that opportunity. If you're ever going to get lucky, you got to know what you're looking for. So, yeah, spend some time on that. What's your growth plan, and are you actually paying attention to how to fucking get it? Because, man, once you know what you're looking for, it just seems to get really easy.
And on that note, thank you for listening to Alcohol Beyond This Point. I don't think I have any other... no. Never mind. Bye.
Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast.
This isn't two podcasters talking business. This is two business guys trying to podcast.